Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lauren, and if you are new here, I am a psychic development coach. So I like to make videos and exercises for you all so that you can learn how to strengthen your own psychic abilities. And so when I do pick a card readings here on this channel, they usually are all about psychic development. So I use these cards, but I also use my intuition, my psychic abilities to kind of give you guys information, as well as kind of like my coaching advice. And one of the things that my guides told me we should be doing for a pick a card reading is just how to trust your intuition more. And this is something that I see often with a lot of my coaching clients, is that usually people are really getting psychic hits. You guys are all getting psychic hits, but you just aren't trusting what's coming through. And so today we're just wanting to open up to trusting our abilities more, whether you're using that just to get information about your life or whether you're, trying to read other people. We're going to ask to pick one of these three piles, and one of these three piles is going to give you information on how you can trust that intuition more. Now, I am setting the intention that this is timeless, so you could come back to this in like a year. If you feel like you're not trusting your intuition, come back, maybe you'll pick another pile. This is pile 1, pile 2, and pile 3. I will give you a few seconds to meditate, and then you can go to the timestamps down below to find your reading. And everyone, just remember that with group readings, some of this will resonate with you, some of it will not. That is okay. If you have never read a pick a card before or watched a pick a card before, I do have a video on how to do that. So just know that the future can change, I can be wrong, and you guys all definitely have free will. So now I'm going to let you all meditate here for just a few seconds to tune into which pile is meant for you. And you can ask the question, which pile is meant for me? How do I trust my intuition more? Alrighty, now we're going to be moving to pile number 1. Alrighty, pile number 1. Let's go ahead and get into it. And the first question I asked is kind of like, what is the main thing that is hanging us up on trusting our psychic abilities or our intuition? And I pulled the card Healing. I don't think I've ever seen this card before. It's the goddess Gula. And immediately kind of what I'm getting is just like there needs to be things healed around your intuition. So maybe there are things that you are not trusting about your intuition. Maybe you've had past experiences, maybe you've been told that, the psychic ability is not a thing and it doesn't work. But you have a lot of old notions is what I'm hearing around either your abilities personally, maybe some past things that you went through, or maybe just, your abilities in general, the psychic ability, your intuition in general. I just kind of feel like there's just this air of like, other people are better at that, but maybe not me. Maybe, I'm not the best at that myself. And I think that is like the biggest block that's holding you guys up right now. And there's just a lot of inner thoughts that need to be healed. That's what I'm getting for the start, but I do feel like there's probably some more stuff coming up, especially with the next 3 cards that I'm going to pull, which is kind of like, why is this happening? Why are we not, why do we have things that need to be healed around our psychic ability? And I'm going to just start with this like support card over here because I immediately got that a lot of the reason why you guys just feel like you can't trust that intuition, that it's not available, it's not there, or just there's just this distrust in it or some preconceived notions. And I think it's because maybe in the past you did ask for help. Like I was seeing for some of you, like going to your parents and being like, oh my gosh, this thing happened, mom, dad, like I'm scared. And they just kind of like wrote it off and kind of like told you to ignore it or not like pay attention to it. And I think because of it, you're kind of told that like, well, if this is something you go into, you know, you're going to be alone at it and you're not going to really have a whole lot of help. And I feel like that's also part of the reason why you're not really like fully investing in it right now, is because you want that support. You want that support from somebody. And I will say I'm here for you guys. I am definitely a place that I want to support you all on your journey to developing your psychic abilities. And so don't feel like this has to be something that you go at it alone. If you have issues, you know, you can talk to like somebody else that's into this, get their opinion. Somebody that's like, you know, understands it and is into it. Not somebody who's just going to be like, oh, that's not real, you know? You need to have a better support team around you if you're wanting to take your intuition to the next level. And I'm like hearing, even for some of you, that's like family and friends. Like if you're asking like your partner or somebody, oh my gosh, did you see that too? You know, and they're just kind of writing you off. That type of energy is not supportive of your psychic ability. And that needs to be healed as well. And maybe just at a more simpler level for some of you, it's just that you need more support for understanding your psychic ability. Oh, sorry. Wait for the siren to pass. So ultimately, I feel like you guys might have asked for help. You might have tried to get help and just did not get it. Or maybe if that wasn't your past, that's just where you're at now. You just feel like, okay, where do I start? I need support. I need help. Just know that I am here as a resource, as a coach. You can book one-on-one sessions with me. You can book multiple sessions with me. I do have video courses as well to kind of support you guys if you feel like you can handle it. You just need a little bit more structure. And then we also have a Facebook group where people that are going through things ask questions and get like other people's opinions. And so going back to why this is happening, why we're having things needing to be healed in regards to your psychic ability, is I think part of this self-limiting belief that you're telling yourself is just that you're not going to be able to. Like the possibilities are not very good for you. And so this card says, raise your standards, elevate your expectations, you have unlimited potential. And I think what I'm getting from this card is really just your guides are just saying, hey, you have to believe that it's going to work. You have to believe that you can do it, which makes sense with kind of the first impressions that I was getting from this card. And there's a lot of reasons why you're telling yourself it's not working. And so maybe write that out on a piece of paper. Write out all these reasons of why you feel like you can't be psychic or why you can't trust your intuition, and start telling yourself that those are no longer true. You know, flip it into an affirmation. So if you are saying, I'm not able to connect with my psychic ability, switch it to, I am able to connect with my psychic ability, and realize where some of these thoughts are coming from. Like, why do you have this standard here? Do you believe that, you know, only certain gifted people can be psychic? Are you comparing yourself to other psychics? You know, really dive into what is it that is keeping these standards so low for yourself. And then with this delight card, it says, count your blessings and enjoy life. Take pleasure in simple things. Always expect the best. Oh, that's such a perfect affirmation for you guys. I feel like you guys are always expecting like the worst, especially when it comes to your intuition. You're just like, oh, I'm not going to connect. Oh, it's not going to work. And so trying to flip it onto its head of like, everything is always working out for me. My psychic ability is always working. Try saying that to yourself. And really, I feel like this card is just saying like, when it comes to healing all of the stuff that's going on in your mind, you guys are just beating yourself up a whole lot. And you're not coming at it from a more positive perspective of like, hey, I can enjoy all the things that are going on in my life. I feel like this is kind of like saying, I am going to come back to my intuition and have it be something that's fun and exciting and delightful and fun. But I feel like when you guys approach your intuition pile one, you're just like, oh gosh, I have to talk about this again. I have to think about this again. It's just this big stressful thing. And your guys are basically trying to say, hey, like, Why can't we look at this as something fun and something playful? And the fact that we got like this little fairy unicorn going on, like to me, this is just playful energy is needed around your psychic ability again. Don't get caught up in like trying to be like the best of the best. Really use it to have fun with your guides. Like, have you ever just sat down and just asked your guides like to take you somewhere, like in a meditation, not went in with like an expectation of like, oh, I have a question, I'm all stressed out, like give me an answer. Like, have you ever just asked your guides to like play with you and see what happens? Like, it's so much fun. And I feel like that's kind of the mood that you need to be approaching this healing. And I'm just gonna read the little excerpt of Gula here in this book, because I kind of set the intention that I was gonna do that for all these goddesses, and that's a lot because this book that comes along with this deck is just amazing. I feel like it gives so much more insight just from these little inscriptions. And so Gula is a Babylonian goddess of medicine and healing. Take heart, for Gula comes into your world as your ally, saying that now is the most auspicious time to focus on healing in all aspects of your life. Only good things will come from your actions here. In fact, now is also the perfect time when you can be assured that you can heal rifts with others as well. Be sincere and call upon Gula for this precious commitment. You may also be called to the path of the healer now. If so, the goddess Gula supports this wholeheartedly. You just need to be willing, respect others, and do no harm. Miracles will arise as if out of nowhere. That totally brought up another point that I think this is for some of you who are already like practicing. Maybe you're reading other people. And this is a point that I've always wanted to make on my channel, and that is like the word healer. And apparently this is the goddess of like healing, medicine, and what else did it say? Medicine and something else. And a lot of times I've seen psychics get hung up because they feel like they have to heal other people. And my coach actually taught us not to call ourselves healers, because what are you doing in that title? You are guaranteeing that you will be able to heal someone. But really, that is a very tall order, and that should not be on your plate at all. You know what I mean? You know, I would never guarantee that I could make somebody happy or, you know, heal them. That is totally up to them to receive your service, your insight, whatever it is, and that's not up to you. And so maybe, I just feel like this might be a small percentage of you, but maybe some of you have been told, you know, oh, I have to be a healer, or when I do this work for myself and for others, it has to heal people. And I think that might be some of these standards that you're keeping yourself on that just don't make sense anymore. And maybe this expectation of like my, you know, intuition has to be life-shattering, you know, these messages coming through have to just be like mind-blowing. And I feel like that could be a limiting belief in itself. Because I do feel like a good chunk of you in pile number 1 do read for other people. And just know that like you do not guarantee that obligation. You can provide the information, but it is not up to you if that person takes that message and runs with it and uses it or not. Like, yes, if we're talking about yourself, if you're getting messages for yourself, you should probably thank your guides and act on it, but you are not going to be following people home and being like, hey, did you do that thing that I told you to do? You know? And because of that same reason, it's like you shouldn't have the expectation that you can heal people. You can help them as much as, you know, to your ability, but it's up to them to really heal themselves. So I felt like that was just a specific thing coming through. I'm glad I read the book on this. All right, and then I asked, what is unknown, or like what is missing here? Like what are we not paying attention to with our intuition and why we're not trusting it? What are we missing? Ooh, and we got boundaries. And the 6 of Pentacles. Your guys' reading is very like centered around other people. So this card, the 6 of Pentacles, is very much, and sorry for the glare, but this is about like making sure that there is an equal give and take to other people. So I feel like I immediately got, some of you use your psychic abilities and you give and give and give to others, and maybe you don't ask for anything in return. Like definitely ask people to put some skin in the game. And even if you don't feel comfortable asking for money, this could just be like, hey, can you do me a favor in return? Hey, can you give me Reiki in return? But the Six of Pentacles is just making sure that there is an equal balance here. And even if you're just reading for yourself, like, are you... This to me is almost like, are you giving yourself what you need in your self-care and your healing and your love, as well as giving your psychic ability, like time and energy? Like, both of those things have to be balanced, is kind of what I'm getting from this card. You can't just like put all your time and your effort into your psychic ability and not like take care of some of these blocks that are really affecting kind of like your energy around this. I hope that makes sense. I really feel like this is more though for people who are reading other people. You are either draining yourself by doing too much for others and not asking for it in return, or like, I'm just getting wounded healer vibes with this whole thing of like putting yourself first so that then you can give to others. And if you're not healing yourself and like some of the psychic blocks that you have, then your readings, like, you'll still be able to pick up things, but the question is it as accurate? Is it as clean and clear? Because are you a clean and clear vessel? Because you're saying, hey, I deserve to take care of myself. I deserve to heal myself. And with these boundaries, I feel like, one, this is boundaries with other people. I feel like it's also boundaries with your psychic ability. Like, maybe that's something that needs to be a little bit more addressed. Are you making sure to like shut off your psychic ability, is what I'm hearing? There's definitely just like with both of these cards, what's missing here is like, there needs to be better boundaries around healing yourself, about getting your own support, you know, working on your own mental attitudes around what you can and can't do with your psychic ability, and then giving to others. And even if you don't read for other people, this could be that you're just prioritizing like everyone else in your life and not taking care of yourself at the end of the day. And it's kind of in the background, like affecting your psychic ability. And this makes absolute sense. If you're not giving yourself your own spiritual time and your own like time to read yourself and go, you know, use your abilities to focus on yourself, then, you know, you're not going to be as clean and clear for other people. And I really feel like, you know, coming back to the main point of this reading of how can you trust your intuition more, I just feel like because you guys aren't spending the time to do this for yourself, the information is not as clean and clear. You know, the information is working for other people sometimes, but not necessarily for yourself. And so that's why you're not trusting it as much. And so the next card I pulled is like, how can we move about kind of fixing this? And I feel like I've obviously given a lot of my coaching advice up until now. Oh my gosh, make time for self-love. Shut up. Last quarter moon in Libra. Libra is all about balance. Like, we've got the scales over here. We've got boundaries over here. I just feel like your guides are hitting you over the head with this. Honestly, and one of the things I'm about to put out on my channel is like my nighttime routine. I would highly encourage you guys to watch that. It might be out in like a few more weeks, but I feel like that is a message I've been getting so much that I basically am turning it into a video. And it's not about like my nighttime routine so that you can be like, oh cool, what does Lauren do? What pajamas does she wear? No, it's about like how I make time at the end of the day for my psychic abilities and for my spirituality so that I can be a better reader. And this is something that we just don't do. Like, we do psychic exercises here and there, but do you do psychic things or just intuitive or spiritual things on a day-to-day basis? And I really feel like making room for that is huge, and it will really kickstart your abilities. And really, I'm not saying like every night you need to go play a psychic game. It's more about that healing. It's more about going into like, what are my stresses in life right now? What's going on? You know, I've got, oh, this problem with a family member. Oh, I've got anxiety over here. How can I work through this? How can I use my intuition to ask questions for myself so I can heal these things so I can be a cleaner and clearer vessel? This is all about just being a healthy psychic. And right now, you guys aren't giving yourself that healthy aspect. And I think because of it, the information that's coming through, you're just not trusting it as much, which makes sense. And then I went ahead and asked, what is this not? Like, what is it that you're beating yourself up over with your intuition that it's actually not the case? And I have a practice gratitude. So I'm kind of getting that a lot of you feel like, oh, well, I'm not grateful for the messages that are coming through, or I'm not grateful enough for my psychic abilities. And because of that, you're kind of saying like, oh, that's the reason my psychic abilities aren't working. Maybe I'm not worthy of some of this information that's coming through from my guides. And your guides are saying that is not it. You are grateful enough. You value the information that comes through. Like, don't let this get in your head. I'm just going to move my camera. Sorry. Can't quite see what I'm doing, but I don't think it's even. Maybe that's better. Okay. And then I wanted to ask, what new energy do you need to sort of embody here to bring in some of this more trust? And I got mentor. I'm getting two things with this. This is one, finding a mentor, and coming back to the support card, finding somebody who's gone through the similar experiences, who's maybe a teacher in regards to some of these things. And this doesn't necessarily have to be just about the psychic ability. This could be somebody who's practiced in healing. Like, maybe you need to go see a therapist with some of this stuff, or maybe just picking up a book and understanding, oh, this is why I have anxiety, or this is why I have PTSD, and this is how I can deal with it. I know I'm very much generalizing here, but the point here is that there's people out there that can help you. And as soon as you can accept help and also find people that will help you through this process of healing, maybe it simply just is healing some of the thoughts and, limited mindset around your psychic abilities. Maybe that's all it is. And, that's all it will take. But I was saying, one, it's finding a mentor, but two, I also feel like this is partly saying like, you can teach people too. Like, you can learn about your psychic abilities, you can learn about the things you're going through. And sometimes when you teach other people, it helps you learn more. I think like there's a saying out there that when you teach other people, you become like a better student yourself, something along those lines. But don't feel like you have to be a master in order to be this perfect psychic. You can still impart wisdom here and there. Like, don't shame yourself for not being in the most perfect, clean and clear place before you speak up and share your opinions or your messages that you get intuitively. I think that latter part is the most important. Don't be afraid to share what you're getting intuitively. Just because you're not perfect and you've got all this stuff going on, don't beat yourself up. Like, everyone has blocks. That's okay. I do too. I am not perfect every time I read, but I try my best. And then I asked, using the 90-day psychic cards that I always recommend, I asked what exercise you can start with, and I got the Body Awareness Day, which are the green cards, and this is literally just a body scan. So if you want to like read the whole thing, you totally can. So there's the front page. There's the back page. Woo. And basically what this card is doing a body scan. You can actually find meditations of these like online if you don't want to like do it yourself. But I kind of am feeling like there's something about getting more in tune with your body and calming down and getting more centered that is going to help you with healing. Like, I've heard somatic healing several times throughout this reading, but I just didn't say it because it wasn't like pertaining to what we were talking about. But I really feel like maybe somatic healing. And it's interesting too, because I was bringing up anxiety a lot. Maybe that's something you guys can start with. But like, I feel like just calming down, allowing for more time to tune into your physical body, maybe you'll realize that you're holding on to a lot of these issues. And when I say issues, it's more of like whatever specifically is needing to be healed for you. You're holding a lot of it in your body. And so paying attention to your body might actually be a good help. Alrighty, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Just remember, if you are new here, please subscribe. I have a ton of videos for psychic development. So there's a ton of things on my channel, tips, tricks, exercises, just beyond my pick a card readings. So if you're looking for something specific, leave it in a comment down below and I can try to point you in the right direction. And all of these decks are linked down below. I also have Patreon, you guys, now. So if you want to see more behind the scenes, if you want to ask me coaching questions, if you want more readings, I do a lot of these and channel on my Patreon. And I also do private readings as well if you want to get something a little bit more specific to you, as well as coaching sessions. So if you enjoyed this video, give it a big thumbs up and I will see you in my next video. Bye. Alrighty, welcome back, pile number 2. And just a quick note here too, if you guys are new here, feel free to subscribe. I have a ton of videos on my channel about psychic development, so you can get even more information beyond this reading if you want to develop your psychic abilities more. So the first question I asked in regards to your psychic development and why you're just not trusting your intuition in general. You know, maybe you're not trying to be a psychic, but maybe you just want to trust all of those little hits and those gut feelings that are coming through. And I got Ain, the goddess Ain, which is number 1 of this card, which is interesting, and that is adaptability. And it's so interesting doing these readings because I'm like, normally when you sit down to do a reading of one person, it's like, oh, okay, I'm reading one person, but I feel like there's multiple groups within this group, and it's like I'm getting several messages for each. But one of those groups I feel like is basically, some of you guys are just being way too rigid with how you approach your intuition. You're just like trying to follow the book, you're trying to follow like all the exercises to a T, maybe you're giving up on yourself, like you're just being way too rigid, way too like organized, way too left brain with it. Again, I don't feel like that's everybody, but I just feel like the psychic ability really requires like flow. And when you're constantly trying to approach it like any other left brain task, you're just kind of approaching it from the wrong direction. You really need to be more adaptable. You need to go with the flow. If something is not working, switch it up, like try a different exercise. And let me see if I'm getting anything else with this card. I'm getting like, see all these like little sparks and stuff here? Like to me, those look like little fairies. And to me, I'm kind of getting like, you guys really need to approach this like you were a kid. Like some of you guys are approaching it, and I think you guys are just coming through the strongest. Some of you are approaching it like, this is another test I have to study for, and there's going to be a quiz, and I got to get all the questions right. But this is really just like, sorry if my mic was scratchy at all there. I think I fixed it. But I feel like really your intuition needs to be addressed from a more playful side of your life. You know, think about what it was like when you were a kid to like believe in fairies or mermaids, or, you know, just that like childlike sense of wonder of like, oh, those things are real. Oh my gosh, I'm specifically hearing like dinosaurs. And I feel like because you guys are approaching it from such an adult mindset instead of a child mindset, I feel like that's like one of the main messages that is coming through. But let me pull some additional cards here to further ask, like, why is this happening? And we have polarity. We have nature. And we have patience. So why your intuition, why you're not trusting it more is because you're just being way too rigid with it. And you really need to be more adaptable to like how you're receiving it, what you're doing, like what's coming through. And it's interesting that I got polarity. Let me come back to that one because the nature one super sticks out to me. Oh, let me bump it up here. Ground yourself, find a sanctuary in nature, connect with the elementals, which is funny because I was feeling like these little sprites here were like elementals. This is basically just saying like part of why you're having such a hard time and you're being so rigid is you're not grounding yourself. You are not, honestly, I'm kind of feeling like this is like that centering energy before you start to do any sort of intuitive work. I feel like you guys might just be skipping over it and trying to go directly into receiving the intuitive information. But the finding a sanctuary in nature, connecting with elementals, like I just want to encourage you guys to like go out and build like a fairy house, or go like get butterflies, or like, you know, believe in the unicorns again. I know that might seem silly, but you guys are just way too rigid, and there's something about just believing in the impossible. Maybe even like I'm hearing, watch old movies that you would have watched when you were a kid that made you feel like magic was real. There's something about that. You're just approaching it from a sense of like, this is the way it is. I have to be rigid. I have to follow the book is like what I'm hearing. But something about grounding, going outside in nature, breaking it up. Sorry for the cars driving by. There's something about you really connecting with more of like your childlike sense of wonder. And I feel like the nature, the outside part of this is really just like getting you into a different space. I feel like where you do your readings, maybe you're just doing it always in the same way, but like when you were a kid, you probably played outside. I feel like a lot of you probably connected with spiritual things when you were outside. I feel like when I go outdoors, I feel like I am more in tune with my intuition because I'm not in the space that I am in 24/7. It's a new, different energy. And something about that will just kind of break up the energy that's going on. And, you know, that's part of this being like adaptable. Like you got to change it up how you're doing it. You're doing it too much the same way and it's just not working. And then integrate your shadow side. There can be no light without dark. Understand the law of polarity. And what is this in regards to? Adaptability. Okay. And I feel like this is in regards to like integrating the polarity of being too rigid with being fun and playful. And it's interesting because it's like this unicorn's pointing up at that card and this unicorn's pointing up at this card. And there needs to be this balance of, you know, and I'm reading this as if this is the problem. So it's really not adaptability. It's the opposite. It's almost like you're being very rigid. And then adaptability is probably the only opposite, or the opposite that I'm kind of thinking, the childlike sense of wonder. And I feel like this is just play. Like I'm literally getting this is play and imagination, and you have cut that out of the psychic ability. You've cut that out of your intuition, or maybe just life. Like you can't have both without, you can't have one without the other. Like they're telling me to explain intuition in regards to imagination. You know, your imagination is your intuition. That is the same, you know, part of your mind. It's the same muscles. You know, imagination, you might not be connecting to anybody or, you know, asking for a message, but really when you're taking it into, I want intuitive information, I want information to come to me, you're really just taking that imagination and giving it like a source. You're saying, this is who I want it from, and this is what I want the message to be in regards to. So I really feel like at the core of this polarity is saying like you can't split apart the fun from intuition. You guys have tried to take that out of it. You can't take the fun out of intuition, the imagination, the playfulness. And so maybe working with guides and spirits that, you know, kind of inhabit more of that, I think will help. And I don't feel like this is, again, everybody. I do feel like some of you guys are pretty good about this. This is just like a very light reminder to not be so analytic and like process oriented with it. And it's just kind of like a light reminder to have fun and to use it to like explore your own childhood. I do feel like this integrating your shadow side is going back into your childhood and what was told to you about your intuition. I do feel like there's some blocks there for some of you. And then patience. Pause before you take action. Trust that divine timing is at work. Be patient and play while you wait. Shut up. All right. Well, I feel like that one speaks for itself, but I want to say that I do think the patience and pause before you take action is also kind of resonating with this of like ground yourself before you start. Like, really take some time and make some space to get centered and grounded before you do intuitive work. Again, a lot of us skip over that. I don't know if I was talking about that in this pile or the previous pile, but I am going to have a video very soon about getting grounded and getting centered before like doing intuitive work. I obviously talk about it a lot in my courses, but I realized I have a really old video on it here on my channel, but it needs a little bit of an update. Where I can speak to it a lot better. So that is coming out very soon. Like pile number 2, you guys should watch that. If you're feeling like you're just having a lot of monkey mind before you're getting intuitive hits, or that you just can't calm down before you receive intuitive hits. Calming down meaning like meditating, I should say it that way, like really clearing your mind to leave room for those intuitive hits. And I feel like for some of you, that's like all it is for you, is just the leaving the space, and the rest of this doesn't matter. Obviously, you guys know it's a group reading. Some of it will work for you, some of it will not. All right, and then I wanted to ask, like, what are we missing here? What are we not paying attention to? What's unknown in regarding to trusting our psychic ability? And I'm definitely getting the energy of like fighting it. You're fighting your intuition instead of working with it. I feel like I could go so much further with that one, but I want to keep this all relatively short. What do I need to know most about this card? You're fighting yourself, and you don't need to be. I feel like you guys just need to go watch my video on like left brain versus right brain and that whole analogy. You guys are just sitting way too much in your left brain, and like you're analyzing the information as it's coming through instead of just letting it come through and analyzing it after the fact. And then this card, the 10 of Swords, just like mentally, you guys are tired of this. You're tired of it not working, and I totally get it. And this card is basically saying, like, you're done. Like this, you've beaten it into the ground. This way doesn't work anymore. Being so rigid about it. And I want to ask, because I feel like rigid is not the right word for everyone. I just heard complacent as maybe for some of you. But there's kind of this energy of like, look, you've done, excuse me, you've done it this way for so long. It's not working. Why not try something different? Why not try it coming from a different angle? Like, I really like feel like healing your inner child, coming at it from what was my imagination and play like as a child, and how can I connect to those energies that I played with as a kid? Like, I feel like that is going to be a much better approach than what you guys are doing now, which is just like beating yourself into the ground. It's no longer working. It's not working. You might as well move on. Okay, and then next I asked, how can we go about kind of like fixing this? Take a reality check. Oh, your guides are just like pulling the punches today. Take a reality check. Like you guys know you're being a little too rigid with it. You're being a little bit too process oriented with it. Like you're coming at it like it's a test or like a quiz, or that you have to get better every single time. That's not how the intuition works. It's something that ebbs and flows. It gets better, it gets worse. I do feel like some of you guys, this is saying, if you feel like this has not been resonating with you so far, there's a small portion of you that this card is basically saying like, you guys know what you need to do, and it's simply just kind of reminding yourself and giving yourself like a little bit of an angry pep talk. Not an angry pep talk, but like a, what am I thinking of? Some of you guys just need to give yourself tough love. Like some of this might have resonated, but you guys at the heart of it, you know, like you've been thinking about it, you know, it's this area over here that you haven't been like giving enough practice to. Maybe it's that you're not meditating beforehand. Maybe you're reading the wrong type of people. You know, there's a very small portion of you that is very emotionally aware of why your intuition, why you're not trusting it. And it's almost like, take this reality check because you know what's going on, and I don't need to tell you, is what this is saying. Your intuition is strong, trust it. But I think for the rest of everyone else that's really feeling like these messages are resonating, I just feel like this is like, stop being so rigid about it. Take a reality check. Take a break from it. Walk away. You know it's not working. So try something different. And then I wanted to ask, what is not happening? Like there's something, you keep blaming something. I was thinking about this card this whole reading because you guys feel like such Virgos. And I'm a Virgo rising, so I know. Oops. But I feel like this is, okay, what is it not? What do we keep telling ourselves is the problem, but it's actually not? And this is last quarter moon in Virgo, attend to the details. And this is about you guys are being way too detailed, again, way too process oriented, way too analytical, way too perfectionist. That's what Virgos do. They analyze everything. They try to find the most perfect balance. And sometimes that is not the energy that is called for. It's almost the exact opposite, which is Pisces. So maybe like learning a little bit about Pisces energy or doing a Pisces meditation. I don't know. But I feel like attending to the details, sorting out the details, being analytic, this is what we don't want to do. And that is not that you're not doing enough of that. You're doing too much of it. That is what is just not working. All right. And then I wanted to ask, what new energy should we be embodying to kind of step into being more adaptable, trusting our intuition more, really coming at it from like a different place? And I got engineer, ability to give creative energy a practical expression, talent for designing resolutions to common dilemmas. So it doesn't mean you can't use all of this practical energy that you're so good with. Like an engineer has practical expression, but they're giving that creative energy a practical expression. So like literally when I read this card, it's about, yes, using the foundation correctly and kind of using that, but coming at it in a more creative way. Not the way that the book says. It's, you know, when you're looking at a blueprint and you're trying to design something, instead of just copying what everyone else does, say, okay, I'm going to take the bones of this. And when I say this, I feel like I'm going to take the bones of the psychic development information, but I'm going to come at it in a way that's creative, that works for me. And I kind of really feel like that's working with the elementals. Like normally I try not to push like guides so much, but I really feel like connecting with guides that you almost feel like, oh my gosh, are they even real? Like the ones that you connected to when you were a kid, elementals. Like I feel like that's the more creative side. Or maybe like I'm hearing it as an example, like I feel like this is partly for me too, but building a fairy house first and using that as a way to connect with a certain guide. So you're not necessarily sitting down to do the psychic exercises, you're doing something to connect with a guide first, and then you're letting the psychic development stuff come next. I hope that makes sense. But I will read the shadow side of this card, and it says, you know, this is what we want to avoid: reliance on mechanical or mechanistic solutions without regard for emotional consequences. And so I actually feel like that's bringing up an interesting point here of like, when you are so much in the analytical and the left brain, a lot of times you can tune out emotions, you can tune out your intuition. It's just a natural byproduct of being in that headspace for so long. And I also feel like because of it, it might be creating blocks for you that you're just unaware of because you're so left brain about it that you're just not stepping into that right brain. Again, like they're prefacing this with like, this isn't everybody, this is just some of you. But it seems like I'm reading the most intense energy that's coming through. So some of you, you know, dial it down, dilute it for what you think makes sense for you. And then the last card that I wanted to pull is from the Build Your Psychic Skills 90-day cards that I always talk about. I love these cards. Some of you have bought them and decided to curse me for it, and sorry, but I think they're amazing. And each day has a different exercise on it. And so I asked, what exercise can you guys start with for trusting your intuition more? And I got the Body Awareness card, which are the green cards, which are Tuesdays. And it says meditate at the same time of the day, go to your private place 3 times a day, and then put your thoughts into your feet and then into the ground. Awesome. That is so perfect. So the second one, go to your private place 3 times a day. This is basically talking about your psychic sanctuary. Have you guys like developed that yet? If not, I have a whole meditation on how to find it. And there's something about building your private place in your mind that is so creative and so imaginative. I think that's such a perfect exercise for you guys to do if you haven't done it already. And you don't have to use my meditation. You basically are making a place in your mind where you can connect with your guides and your beings. And it's totally unique to you. And I feel like imagining it and really getting in the creative zone, like I'm even hearing like for some of you, if you need to like draw it out or like make an artistic representation of it, go for it. Don't get all analytical and like write it out and like make it this perfect blueprint. No. But something about creating it, I think, is going to help you guys. And then the last thing, put your thoughts into your feet and then into the ground. That is a grounding technique, exactly like what we talked about with this nature card. And this is about putting your thoughts inside your feet and then into the ground. Maybe this is something you can do when you're getting those analytical thoughts. Where was your awareness before doing this? Oh, that's such a great point. I feel like this pile and the previous pile are both kind of getting messages about remembering to like actually take the time to breathe and ground yourself and center yourself before doing intuitive work. And that's something that just gets skipped so often that I'm making a whole new video on it. So maybe check it out if this really pertains to you. But there's something about getting rid of those thoughts, getting rid of them and putting them into the ground that's going to help with like the analytical, the rigid side of what's going on. But then I also feel like grounding yourself will help you get in that more present, centered state. And you're going to realize, wow, this is as simple as just like, all I need to do is do a centering exercise and then the intuitive hits start flowing. And I think there needs to be more of this separation of this awareness. Where was your awareness before doing this? She's basically asking like, is your awareness with your to-do list? Is it with all of the exercises that you've just been thinking about? Really, you want to ground and get rid of all of your thoughts. So then when you approach the psychic work and you approach the intuitive work, your awareness is in a much more centered place. And I'll describe it all in that video. I feel like I could go on and on about it. Alrighty, you guys, thank you so much for joining me today. Just remember that all of these decks are linked down below if you really enjoyed any of them. And please subscribe if you want to see more psychic tips. I do have a Patreon now, so you guys can pick my brain, ask me questions about coaching. I also do readings over there, and we have like live nights. So you get a lot more like one-on-one time with me to ask a ton of stuff. And I am going to be doing like a channeled message from the fairies soon. So if you're interested in that, pop on over there. You do get access to everything from the past. So you get access to all these older videos as well. And just remember too that I also have one-on-one coaching and one-on-one readings if you want to get something a little bit more specific. But if you enjoyed this reading, please give me a big thumbs up and I will see you next time. Bye. So I was starting to put these cards away and I realized I totally forgot to read about Ain from this book. I said I was going to do that for everybody. So Ain is a Celtic goddess and I didn't realize this. She's the Celtic shapeshifter goddess who moves effortlessly between our world and the world of the Fae. This is crazy too because at the time of recording this, we are like days away from Beltane, which is literally the veil thinning and the world of the Fae coming through more, which I think is kind of cool. But let me read from this little excerpt, not all of it, but just some of it. And kind of, again, think about it in reframing like your intuition. When you set intentions of how your life could be different, better, fuller, juicier, prosperous, creative, more meaningful, I'm going to add more psychic, adaptability is the power you'll need to rely on. The old familiar you, the one who is used to your comfort zone, is now invited to dance in uncharted territory. The questions to ask yourself as you step into this unknown are, who do I need to become in order to experience this life I desire? What in me needs to shift so I can welcome this amazing abundance. Know you have everything you need right now. You are aligned with the Celtic shapeshifter goddess Ain, who can move effortlessly between our world and the world of the fairy. Her power of adaptability is sparkling within you. Magic is afoot. That to me, like the fact that she was a fairy goddess, like, I mean, it makes sense with like how they drew this, but I was like not 100% sure if that's like what she was about. But I totally got it intuitively. And so definitely work with those fairies. Work with those more childlike guides. Let me know. I've always wanted to talk more about those types of guides because those are my guides. Like I've got the unicorns, I've got the fairies, I've got the animals. I've got basically Disney guides, and I feel like I always get so embarrassed about it because it's not like your typical guide. But if you really resonate with those, maybe I can chat about them on my Patreon or something. Awesome. That was that. Thanks, guys. Bye. Alrighty, welcome back, pile number 3. Let's see why we're not trusting our intuition. And one of the first things that I like to ask, I'm pulling a card and saying, what's like the main problem here? Why aren't we trusting our intuition as much? And we got the goddess Easter, new beginnings. It was just Easter recently at the time of this recording, so I feel like I know a lot about the goddess Easter. And let me just kind of tune into this card of like why this is a problem. Okay. I'm definitely getting that for some of you with why you're not trusting your intuition is it's almost like you like start and then you give up. You start and you give up. You start and you give up. That's definitely some of you. And then I think a smaller percentage of you just needs to actually start and just like do it. Like putting in the time to connect intuitively and then just like trusting what you get. Because I was asking if like the newness is what we needed to avoid, but it's like, no, it's either that you keep restarting, like maybe you give up, you take a break and then you restart. And then it's almost like you just haven't quite progressed because you kind of have to restart and redo all the practice that you've put in, because really the psychic ability requires practice, right? And when we take a break, you know, if you take a break from riding your bike and you come back to it, you're going to be rusty. And so if you're constantly taking breaks and constantly coming back to it with a new start and you're just remembering how to ride the dang thing and you're not moving forward past that, I think that's the main issue for a lot of people in this group is just you keep restarting, but not like continuing. And remembering that intuition is like a daily practice. Maybe not daily, but it's not something that, you know, it's like a muscle. If you don't go to the gym, if you don't use it, it's not going to work. And then let me see if there was anything else that I'm getting with this card. Yeah, I feel like that's more the majority of this group is you guys start it, you get excited, and then for some reason you stop and you restart and then you're kind of back to square one. So let's pull some additional cards to see what's going on, like why this is happening. What a pretty card. I love these unicorn cards so much. All right. So we have awareness, past lives, and partnership. Now I'll start with past lives because that one's sticking out to me the most. And this card is basically saying, like, I don't feel like this is necessarily past life related because I do feel like out of all the piles that I've read, you guys have kind of like the simplest energy of like what's going on. Like it's a very practical, like just a matter of doing it kind of energy. And so the past lives part of it I don't quite feel is past life necessarily. I more believe it's like, you know, earlier in this life, like, you know, late or previously during this lifetime. So it could have been last week, it could have been a couple years ago, it could have been when you were a child. This says, release your past life karma. You are an old soul with deep wisdom. Healing your past lives will raise your vibration. Honestly, I feel like this is kind of just saying healing and forgiving yourself for all of the past starts that you've had to your psychic ability. Like you've definitely had times where you're more in tune, where you're less in tune. And I think you guys focus too much on the past, honestly, when it comes to your psychic ability, and comparing yourself to where you're at now, than focusing on just getting it done. Like, to me, what's coming through is like, you guys just need to establish a habit with your psychic ability. And right now you guys start it, you stop it, you start it, you stop it, you start it, you stop it. And really, like anything that you want to get better at, you just have to keep doing it. You have to keep riding that bike every day. Again, it doesn't have to be every day if that's overwhelming, but not taking such long breaks from it. And then awareness, living in the moment, being conscious of your thoughts, looking for signs and guidance. To me, this card is coming through and is saying, like, you guys are so worried that you have to stop and make this huge deal out of your intuition. Oh, I need to stop and take classes. Oh, I need to go in person and practice every single week. But literally, your guides are saying, no, it can be mindfulness. Your intuition, connecting to your intuition, can be a mindful exercise every single day. It's about getting more into the space of everyday stopping, being present, and saying, is there a guide here? Is there a message here? You know, tuning into your body, tuning into just a quick little psychic exercise. How can you slow down during the day? You don't need to make it, like, you guys are making it into this big thing of, I gotta stop, I've gotta pull out all these books, I've gotta do this huge exercise. No, it can be as simple as stopping and having little awareness moments throughout your day, being aware of your psychic ability. You guys are just making it too complicated. I mean, really, I feel like the energy is like, oh my gosh, I didn't do it this perfect way, so I'm gonna stop and give up. Like, it's literally the energy of like when you want to start working out and you get like 3 days in a row, and then the 4th day you skip it, and then you just give up, you know, and you don't do it again for like a whole nother month because you skipped that one day. And really, it's not about being consistent like to a T. It's more about just in general being a little bit more consistent. And I think in our society, we tell each other that if you're not like super on it every single day, doing it perfectly, then you're not doing it right. But really, you just need to get more into a practice of stopping, having little moments of awareness where you're tuning into a guide, tuning into your psychic ability on a daily basis. And then partnership. Teamwork will give you a better result. Find trustworthy people to partner with. Build up a talented support team. So I'm definitely like feeling with this group, like you guys might have a little bit more success in trusting your intuition if you're in a group setting. So maybe that is like finding classes and trying it. And some people have told me before, like, Lauren, I've tried to look up classes, but there's nothing in my area. And I've always said, like, start one yourself, like start up a meetup. And you might not be the most talented person there, but you guys know psychic exercises that you could do as groups. Like, there's a ton of ideas on my channel. But I do feel like, and even if it's not like starting up a whole thing, it could just be that you have some friends over, or ask, your partner, hey, can I practice on you tonight to try to get my psychic ability going. And we also have a Facebook group too if you want more of that energy. But for some people, I really do feel like you kind of need that outside accountability. You kind of need people to tell you and validate you. And I definitely needed that when I was learning. Not everybody, but I think you guys are kind of going a little bit too lone wolf with this. And so if you feel like that's something that could be helpful, maybe try to seek it out. But I think, like even with the new beginnings, like if you had something, like even if it's just once a month that you're constantly going to, that's kind of keeping you, oh yeah, I got to remember to use my intuition. I feel like you would definitely benefit from that. I mean, overall, it would just keep you paying attention more to your psychic ability so that you could trust it more. But overall, it just feels like there's a lack of consistency here. And it's because of you not putting in the daily effort for it, maybe not doing it in the most supportive environment that works best for you, and then just getting hung up on like the past and what your psychic ability looked like back then and why it's not there now. So the next thing I wanted to ask was, what's unknown? Like, what are we missing here when it comes to trusting our psychic ability a lot more? Because we want to, like, yes, we can have information coming through, but if we're not trusting what's coming through, it's a lot harder. Oh, wait, I'm jumping ahead of myself. Or wait, no. Yeah, this is also another card. So what are we missing here? I'm going to start with this card. You're missing like a goal. Like why do you want to develop your intuition? Like, I feel like that's huge. That's probably why you're starting and stopping and starting and stopping. Like, what are you doing it for? Are you doing it to read other people? Are you doing it to read yourself? Like, I honestly feel like with the Three of Wands, it should be one of the reasons should be, that you're using it to build a better future for yourself. You're like, this to me is the manifesting card. This guy's looking out into the distance and he's saying, what could I do? What could I plan? What could I bring into fruition? And so maybe, wanting to develop your intuition so that you can use these visions or have these visions and then use your psychic ability to manifest that vision. Maybe the reasons why you were doing it before just weren't quite there. With this card is about walking away from something. Walking away, like moving on a journey, even though you have the things that you need. That's usually the energy of this card, but I want to pull an additional card just to see what this is about. What are we walking away from? Or what do we need to walk away from? We need to walk away from celebrations. What? Okay, I was confused, so I pulled some more cards. So then I think I'm getting a better picture here. So we've got the Eight of Pentacles and the Four of Wands. And really, oh, can you even see this? What I feel like this is saying is like, there's something about being humble here that's going on, because I do feel like when you guys are connected, there's a lot of this like celebration, there's a lot of excitement, like wanting to share your psychic abilities with other people, but there's not a whole lot of wanting to put in the work to do it. And so I think that's what we need to walk away from, is wanting the results, but not putting in the time and the effort. And that kind of brings us back to like, what's your why? Like, do you kind of get into this sometimes to kind of like show off to your friends or your family, or, maybe your goal is, less selfish, and maybe it's kind of like, oh, I want to be a really big psychic and I want to have a YouTube channel just like Lauren or something. Not saying that that's like a bad thing, but like when you get into it for a reason or an outcome that doesn't really support your psychic ability and it's supporting something else, it makes it a lot harder. So to me, this is kind of saying like, we need to walk away from this and walk more towards this, which is hard because this is the boring work. This is putting in all the time and the effort to make all of these little pentacles, and it takes forever and it's boring. But we like the outcome. We like when it works. We like when it's fun and exciting. But I think in order for it to get here, you have to do this. And I think that's why you guys stop a lot, is because you don't like the boring parts, which makes sense. Okay, and then the next card I wanted to pull was like, how can we fix this? How can we move forward into making this better? Breathe through the tension. I really feel like you guys get so frustrated with your psychic ability. When you do start doing it, it's like, why isn't it working? Why am I not getting anything? And remembering to breathe and center and get rid of those thoughts, get rid of the anxiety and the anger, because those are probably blocking your intuition. Really, I feel like this is just saying like sticking with it when it feels frustrating, because just like anything that you practice, it's going to be frustrating. It's going to take time. You don't walk into the gym one day and come out buff the next day. I feel like you guys don't like the practice part of it, and that's why you're not trusting your intuition, is because you're not practiced as much as you could be, and then the information that's coming through is like frustrating, it's hard to get, and instead of understanding, hey, this is part of the process, you just kind of get angry and frustrated and quit. Your guys' biggest challenge is not to quit and just to keep up with it, make it a daily thing, breathe through that tension. And then I went ahead and asked, okay, what is this not? Like, what is it that you're telling yourself is the problem with your intuition that it's actually not? Ooh, talk less, feel more. Oh gosh, that is such a perfect card to pull for this, Pisces. So part of you guys feel like, oh my gosh, maybe I'm talking too much. Maybe I'm coming more from that analytical side and less from the psychic side. But it's like, no, you're getting those intuitive hits. You're doing a pretty good job of separating out analytical versus psychic, which was like pile number 2, totally opposite problem. But I feel like this is not the problem. Again, I asked, what is it not that you keep telling yourself? You keep telling yourself, oh, it's not psychic, that's just me. That's not the case. It is psychic information that's coming through. But I think because you're not practiced enough, it's maybe not coming through as frequently as you want or when you want it to. It's just a whole frustrating thing. But this to me is confirmation that you are tuning in with that intuition. I mean, Pisces is the sign of intuition. And then I asked, what new energy do we need to embody so that we can start trusting our intuition a little bit more? And I got hero, heroine, passion for a journey of personal empowerment. Stop it. You guys have to enjoy the process of climbing up the mountain. You can't just like want the end goal, but you don't want, it's almost like this vibe of like, nobody's going to drive you up to the top of the mountain. You have to walk up there yourself. And it makes sense too, the shadow side of this card being escapism and a false sense of heroism. It's kind of like you want the outcome, you want that really happy, oh, everybody look at me, I'm, connected, I'm psychic, but you're not exactly willing to put in the effort to get there. And so I think really when it comes to trusting your intuition more, you really have to get in the headspace of, all right, this is a journey that will take time and I'm going to empower myself along the way. It's going to be hard, but I'm going to get there. And I think really it's nothing about what you're doing wrong or not connecting right. It's just about doing it. And I feel like your guides are kind of saying, do you want to go on the trip or do you not? And if you don't want to go on the trip, stop complaining because it's totally within your control. It's just this boring part that you don't like, and that's okay. You got to go through it. But once you get through it, like the majority of it, this doesn't come up. Like I will say, like when I was learning, it took a long time for me to get through those blocks, to understand my psychic ability. But once I understood it, like literally now my blocks, all of those things that used to hang me up, those don't happen nearly as often anymore because I kind of understand my ability. I practice every day. So this becomes a lot less. This will not be forever. It's just when you're starting out. It's just when you're learning. And then I asked, what exercise do you need to kind of start with? And I pulled from this Build Your Psychic Skills 90-day plan. And I actually pulled one of the purple cards. And these are kind of thrown all throughout. It's not an actual day, but it's supposed to be kind of in the deck to kind of give you like a little bit of encouragement. Ooh, and this is a fun one. It says, when you get a hunch, sorry for the glare. When you get a hunch, a small imperceptible intuition, act on it. Acting on hunches increases your psychic abilities. So that's definitely a great little like piece of advice. When you are connecting daily, when you are getting those hits, it's really easy for us to kind of just be like, oh, that might have been psychic. I don't know, whatever. I'm gonna continue about my day. But when you actually act on it, like if your guides tell you, go to that lane in the grocery store, it's gonna be shortest, like checkout lane, and you act on it and you trust them, what you're telling yourself is, I trust the information that's coming through. I trust my psychic abilities. And what happens then? Your psychic abilities start to increase. And And then your guides also start to give you more information because they're like, oh, hey, look, she's paying attention. I'm going to keep giving them information. And so I think this is like a great little piece that I might have been missing from this that they're throwing in here too. Because really, some of you guys might be getting a lot of those intuitive hits, but you're not giving it credit. And so this is one of the ways we can give that intuitive hit and our intuitive abilities more credit. Awesome, you guys. I think that is it. Thank you so much for watching. I do have all of these decks linked down below. And remember that I also do private readings, so you can get something a little bit more one-on-one and personalized with me, as well as coaching sessions. If you want to develop your psychic abilities more, you can book a coaching session with me. Also, we have a Patreon now, and basically on there, you can get early access to my videos. You can get coaching questions answered from me. Everyone asks me questions every month, and I kind of make a video where I try to answer everybody as much as I possibly can. And then we also have live nights and even more kind of readings that are this style. Both like tarot, pick a card, and also like channeled messages from me every month. So awesome, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did like it, please give it a big thumbs up, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.